Alright, guys, we're over here in Luke chapter 8. We're going to go back to Matthew chapter 13 here in a minute. But first, this is the same parable that we went over in part 1, where the sower is sowing the seed and it falls on the different types of the ground. And when it gets down here, it says, but that on the good ground are they which in an honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it, and bring forth fruit with patience. Okay? No man, when he lighteth a candle, covereth it with a vessel, or putteth it under a bed, but setteth it on a candlestick, that they which enter in may see the light. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. So, no matter what you do in your life, no matter what the wicked ones do in their life, no matter what the righteous ones do in their life, no matter what anyone does in their life, in secret, or in the hidden chambers, or in their thoughts, and all these kinds of different things, will eventually come to light. So when you're making your choices on a day-to-day basis, whatever it is you're doing, and you're making a choice, understand that no matter what choice you make, whether hidden or not hidden, it will come into the light at some point in your life. You will have to deal with it at some point. But going back up to verse 15 here, understand that having heard the word, after you've heard the word and it's come to you, your job, having heard the word, is to actually keep that word. Keep it inside, meditating on it, going over it day in and day out in your mind, and getting it inside of your soul, and inside of your mind, inside of your spirit. And in so doing, eventually, with patience, it's going to bring forth fruit. As the truth goes into you, it slowly eliminates the lies and the deceptions that you've been programmed with your entire life. So, last part we're going to read here on this one before we go back to Matthew chapter 13 is, take heed therefore how you hear. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and whomsoever hath not, from him shall be taken even that which he seemeth to have. So when the word comes to you, either you're reading the Holy Bible, the canon that we call the Bible itself, or you're picking it up from a video, or you're doing a research online or whatever, how you hear that word, how you receive it, is going to determine if you're going to get more of the word, more understanding given to you, or if it's actually what you have is actually going to be taken away and removed from you. Of course, by the wicked ones, by the lies, by the deceptions, and the programming that we all receive. So let's go ahead and head back over to the book of Matthew chapter 13 and go on down to that second parable. Okay, so we're over here in Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13. And we're going down to the second parable. And it says here in verse 24, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field. Okay, in his field. Now later he's going to interpret this parable and help you to understand the meaning of the parable. But understand that this is his field, and later we find out that the field is the world, or the earth. Okay? In this case, the word world does mean earth. So so it's likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So the good seed that is being sowed, as far as the parable is concerned, is wheat. Now, while men slept, that is, while men were not really paying attention, don't have the Word of God, don't have the instructions of God, the Torah of God, the law of God, basically, that gives you abundance and peace and prosperity and all these kinds of different things that come from obedience unto His Word. While we slept, the enemy came in and he was sowing tares among the wheat. Okay, very important that you understand what's happening here. There is an enemy of the sower, the guy that's doing the sowing. Now we know that the sower in this parable, as we'll learn, is the Son of Man or is Jesus. So the only enemy of Jesus is the Antichrist, or him who comes in the place of Christ. Okay, so that's the enemy here. But understand that the enemy is the one sowing, and are sowing tares. Now these tares, if you go back into your scriptures, I'm sorry, not in your scriptures, but if you go back and you do your research on what these tares were, it was a form of a wild ryegrass, and it was called Zuwan, or Zuwan, and it looks identical to wheat until the shoots spring up, which is where you get the actual wheat from. Is they come up off the shoots. These heads come up off of these shoots, and the wheat heads have more of a blackish color. But until they get to these until the plant has gotten to a point where it sends the shoots up that produce the heads of wheat, you cannot tell the difference between that wild ryegrass called Zuwan and the actual wheat plant. You can't tell the difference. Only a trained eye can tell the difference. And understand that this wild ryegrass, now this isn't the same ryegrass that you grow in your yard and stuff, but a different type of ryegrass. It's a wild ryegrass, and it is bitter, and it is an intoxicating poison. Intoxicating poison. So all of that plays a role. Now, what you got to understand is when you translate the word of your Father from one language into another language, you lose meaning in that translation. The other thing is that when you translate a word, it can be translated as 2 or 3 different words in the other language, and thus you might lose the meaning of words. So the tares that are being sold here look identical to the crops, just like the wicked ones and the righteous ones look identical. We all are one and the same. We all look the same. We're all really brothers and sisters. In reality, we're all brothers and sisters. But what he's sowing, the tare that the enemy is sowing, is intoxicating poison. It's destructive. It pulls you away from the word, away from the truth, into lies, into deceptions, and then you end up living your life based on those lies and deceptions, simply because you don't know your Father's word, and for no other reason. If you knew your Father's word, the lies and deceptions of the world simply would have no effect upon you. But the problem that we all face is that we've already been programmed, basically from the day you're born onward to whatever age you are today. So let's just keep on with the parable here. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So while everybody slept, the enemy comes in and starts sowing these tares. So while the church is going about its lifespan, the bride, as it's going along, so then these tares come moving in and begin to infiltrate into the systems and begin to sow the tares, the intoxicating poison, the lies, the deceptions, and the programming into the church and to the world as a whole. Okay, in other words, all of the earth is covered by these tares, because we're going to find out that the field is the world. So the servant of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst you not sow good seed in thy field? From whence hath it tares? So here come the servants that are working in the field, and they go up to the sower, the master of the field, and say, what's going on here? I thought you sowed good seed into your field. I thought you sowed good seed into the earth. Okay, going all the way back to Genesis chapter 1, and all the way back, guys. And when he sowed Adam into the earth and Eve into the earth, and then all of a sudden we see that there's 2 children born, one right after the other, not 2 different time periods, but you had Cain born, and then again Abel born again, meaning that it is a sequential event. One came out and the other one followed. Twins were born in the beginning there. So you're going all the way back to the beginning of time when you're listening and reading and understanding this parable. And so he's saying very clearly, the servants of the field are to their master, I thought you only sowed good seed into the field, into the earth. What happened here? What's going on? Where did the tares come from? Where's all this wheat and tares come from? And then the master said unto them, an enemy hath done this. An enemy hath done this. Okay, again, you know who the enemy is: that serpent, that great dragon, the liar, the deceiver, the father of lies, the serpent, the devil, so forth and so on. The servant said unto him, Will you that we go and gather them up? So here's man's perspective. Man takes a look at the situation and says, okay, you got all these weeds, these tares growing up, these weeds basically growing in your garden here, in your field. Man's idea is to come right in and take, hang on. So man's idea is to come in here and to just start gathering up all these tares and getting rid of them. You know, when you go out in your garden and you're gardening and you plant all your plants out in the garden, weeds come up. And what the average person does is go in with them weeds and pluck the weeds out so that all that's left in their garden is a pretty garden of plants that they planted. Okay, so the man's concept is, okay, I need to go in here and I need to handle this. I need to take these tares out of the way. And so the servants come to the master and say, "What do you want us to go out here and to pluck up all these tares out of the field, out of the garden, out of take so that all that's left is your crop, is the wheat, is the good people, is the righteous ones? Is that what you want us to do?" And he said unto he said, "Nay, no, don't do that. Lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also wheat with them." So understanding the way that the roots work in that ryegrass, that zuon, the roots would be intertwined or tangled up with the roots of the wheat itself, and if you pulled up the tare, you would kill the wheat. You'd kill the righteous one just along with that wicked one. And so if man would have went on with his way of thinking, he would be over here trying to remove the wicked ones and eliminate them by his power, by his authority, plucking them up, doing this thing, and ultimately would destroy the righteous ones along with them. And so he says, no, don't do that. Don't gather them up. He said, let both, verse 30 right here, he says, instead, let both of them grow together until the harvest. So you're going to have the wheat and the tares growing together on the earth from the day of Cain and Abel all the way down through time, including passing through the flood and continue. Remember, there was giants in those days and afterwards as well, after the flood as well. So if you have giants after the flood, the seed line carried down through on beyond the flood. The seed line was continuing on through. We also see that one of the sons of Noah goes and sleeps with Noah's wife. In other words, sleeps with his mother. Okay, he saw his father's nakedness, which is an idiom that says that using your scriptures, you can see that means that he slept with his father's wife. Now, I will get into that, and I will bring those verses up in a later video, so you can see that the scriptures make it clear that those exact words, saw his father's nakedness, clearly and literally means that he slept with his mother or his father's wife. That's what happened there. Again, same seed, same thing, same wickedness that was found in Cain, who slew his brother Abel, the murderer from the beginning, which was talked about later in the scriptures in the New Testament. So he says then, on verse 30 here, let both grow together until the harvest. Now remember, the harvest is the end of the age, as we'll find out here. End of the world is what it says, but we'll look it up and we'll see it's the end of this age that we're in today. But let both grow together until the harvest. Okay, so the wicked ones are you can't tell a wicked one except by their works. Okay, whoremongers, manslayers, and so forth and so on. All the wicked people. You can't. This whole time that you were asleep, you had no idea that any of these things were going on until all of a sudden you woke up and the truth began being revealed to you, and you begin to see what was really going on the earth that you had no concept of, no ideas of prior to the great awakening that's taking place as all the children of God begin to wake up. So continuing verse 30, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, gather you together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Now he's going to go on and he's going to talk about another parable, but then he's going to come back in the same chapter and start talking about the explaining the interpretation of this parable that we just went over. So verse 31, it says, Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. So what he's saying is that the kingdom of heaven is something as simple as the smallest of smallest of smallest of smallest seeds, which when it enters into the man or woman, child, what have you, when it enters into man's ears, into the ear gate, and goes in, if it takes root, it becomes a great mighty tree. Basically the concept of the tree of life. Okay, same concept, but it's the smallest of smallest seeds in the herb category becoming the greatest of greatest sized plants, which actually grows up into the size of a small tree, even so big as to where the birds and such can begin to go onto the branches and so forth and so on. So all it takes is but a mustard seed, just something as small as a mustard seed. Just a little bit of the word begins to dramatically affect and to change your life, to transform you. Again, you have to renew your mind so that you are no longer conformed to the way of this world, but transformed by the renewing of your mind, by getting the seed, the word of your Father into your heart, into your soul, into your life. He says another parable in verse 33, Another parable spake he unto them, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. And so, if you take just the smallest amount of leaven, which is basically like a yeast, and you put it into your meal, and you just put a little drop, say the size of a mustard seed, the parable just prior to this, you just put that little drop into that meal, and what happens is, as it sits, it begins to spread and to take over the entirety of however much you have in that meal. Or whatever size it is, it will consume that little drop of leaven, that little piece of leaven will take over the entirety of the dough or whatever it is that you're dealing with. Okay, so that's how the kingdom of heaven operates. Just the smallest of seed, just the smallest of leaven, just the smallest little bit of the word entering in will begin to change your life. It will eventually consume and take over the entirety of your life and your world. It will, at first, it's a slow process. You're taking in the milk, you're taking in the little things, getting the basic understanding of things. And so with patience, it will begin to bear fruit in your life. It will begin to transform you. It's a gradual, slow process. You just get into the Word and stay in it. And then the Word gets into you. You understand that? You get into the Word and you stay in it. You keep going over it and over it and over it and over it until eventually it like leaven spreads throughout the entirety of you, removing all the lies, removing all the deceptions. And as those lies and deceptions are removed and the truth is entered into you, you begin to live your life based on truth rather than the lies and deceptions. You get rid of the mark of the beast and you have the seal of God in your forehead. And remember that out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. So how do you get knowledge and how do you get understanding? You get it from his mouth, his word, over and over again, guys. I'm relentless about it. My message is one thing: for you yourself to get into the word, stay in it, and get the word in you. Okay? It's not about me. It's not about some other person. It's not about some entity. It's about you getting in your Father's word and staying in it until your Father's word is inside of you. Only you can do that. I can't do that for you, nor can anybody else do that for you. You have to get in it. You have to read it. You have to know what it says. It alone can change you. I can't, neither any other man. You have to work out your own salvation. You have to do it. You have to prove what is the good and acceptable will of God. You have to do it. It's your job. It's your responsibility. Your children can't do it for you. Your mom and dad can't do it. It's all about you. All you can do as far as your children is concerned is point them in the right direction, to get them in that book and to get them reading that book so that that word is in that child. You can't do it for them. They have to get the word. See, each individual, each and every one of us has to do it for ourselves. It's all about the Word. Okay, so verse 34, all these things spoke Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spoke he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from what? The foundation of the world. The very first age, when the foundations were set on the earth. We're in the second age, on the second earth, and we're going to go into the third age, or the third earth, in which there is righteousness. Okay? But right now we're in the second earth time frame, or the second earth. And what he is saying is that all these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spoke he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret, right? The mysteries of God, the mysteries, the secrets of God have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. From the foundation of the world. From the beginning of the beginning of the beginnings. Okay? So when you come back up here and you look at this leaven situation, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto leaven, which a woman took, put into 3 measures of meal, and the whole was leavened. Okay? You can read this, it has 2 meanings. The word, just a little bit of the word, will spread throughout the entirety of the body and dispel the lies and deceptions that you've been programmed with all your life. But it also, when you come down here and you read that secret from the foundation of the world, then you can come back up here and it says a little bit of leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. Then what do you have? In the age of the earth that we are in now, you had Cain born of Satan, whereas Abel was born of Adam. These are twins that came out of Eve, one after the other, one directly right after the other. Literally, she bore Cain and then again bore Abel. Okay, it doesn't say and later bore Abel. It says and again, instantly, right after, directly after Cain came out, here comes Abel. Okay, and there's all sorts of parables, all sorts of verses all over the scriptures in the Old and New Testament that absolutely prove that there are 2 different seed lines on this earth. If you go back to Genesis and you look at the punishment, that there's going to be enmity between her seed and the serpent's seed. Okay? Well, who is her seed? That's going to crush the serpent's head. That would be who? Jesus. So it is a physical, real seed line coming down through Eve, through Eve, the mother of all living, not the dead. Not those who have not the truth. That's the dead. If you don't have the truth in you, you're dead. You're dead in sin. You're dead in lies and deceptions. You don't have the truth. Truth is life. The Word of God is life. Truth is life. So if you don't have truth in you, you are spiritually dead. You are toast. You're not in the living. I hope that makes sense to you guys. But in the beginning, that little bit of leaven, that little bit has spread and has become who's controlling all the nations and all the languages and all the education and all the sciences and all the different stuff. Who's doing it? That little bit of leaven in the beginning has basically taken over all of the field, the earth. Okay, so you can read these things 2 ways, but he's trying to make it clear to you that these parables that he is telling you go all the way back. These are the secrets that have been kept secret from the foundation of the earth. They were not revealed to anyone until Jesus spoke the parables. And why did he use parables? Because having ears they cannot hear, and having eyes they do not see. Being so programmed in lies and deceptions they can't get it. So he's got to take something that that people understand in order to teach them a spiritual truth. Because God is spirit. So when you're reading his word, anytime you're reading his word, it is a spiritual message, not a physical message. Yes, there is a physical side to every sentence in your scriptures, and yes, it holds absolutely true physically. But God is spirit. Okay? So what he's speaking is a spiritual communication. There is a spiritual lesson to be learned in every word, in every sentence, and all these kinds of things. Now, if you know Hebrew, one word can be an entire sentence. and have numerical value, that brings forth even more meaning. Now these are things that are lost if you don't know the Hebrew language. But I want to make it clear that these parables that you're reading all throughout the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels, all of them, I will other things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. So what he's teaching you in these parables goes all the way back to the beginning. Remember, he told the end from the beginning. He declared the end from the beginning. Okay, just like you see with the Q post. Okay, with the Q post, he's declaring each thing before it ever happened, because you're watching a scripted movie. Okay, verse 36. And Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. Okay, now let's just stop right there. So now this is the disciples. Now these are the ones who have been given eyes to see and ears to hear, right? We just learned that in the parable prior, where he's talking about the different types of ground that the seed falls upon, and what type of ground you are currently, based on the programming, lies, deceptions, and stuff that are inside of you. But what ground you are, how well you receive the word, whether that word can even take root, or if it's going to get burnt by the sun because it doesn't have any root. That individual doesn't know who they are, or what they are, or what's happened through Christ, and so forth and so on. But these disciples don't themselves don't comprehend the parable that Jesus just gave to them. So Jesus is going to literally break this down so that the disciples can understand it, so that you and I can also understand it. Because if we can't understand these two parables, the types of soil that each and every one of us are, and what this sowing of the wheat and the tares is all about, if we can't understand these two things, we can't understand the rest of the scriptures. These are the only two parables that he gave the parable, and then he gave the interpretation of the parable and explained it so that you can understand it. So you must get these two parables to get a comprehension and an understanding of the rest of your scriptures. Let's continue. So he answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. Okay? Who formed Adam and then eventually put Adam to sleep and pulled Eve out of Adam? Who did that? Well, we know that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The same was in the beginning with God. John 1:1. And we go all the way down, it's talking about the Word, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt amongst us. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. So it was Jesus at the very, 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 very beginning, who planted the good seed, who planted Adam and Eve and brought forth Abel. Abel got slain, and so we end up with a new child of the seed of Adam and Eve, which was Seth. And then from Seth on downward. See, right from the get-go, you have Satan trying to corrupt the seed line right from the get-go, and that's why there's enmity between the woman and the serpent, between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. In your scripture, it's very clear that there's two separate seed lines on this earth. Very crystal clear about it. If Eve's seed is Jesus, okay, then there has to be a physical seed line for the serpent's seed that has enmity with the woman's seed. You got to grasp this, guys. This is what this entire parable is all about. Is this sowing that took place in the beginning, a secret from the foundation of the world. So he answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed, that is Adam and Eve, and then eventually Seth, is the Son of Man. The field is the world. You got to understand this, guys, because when you're reading when you go through your scriptures and you're going all the way through it, and you're getting to the different, Isaiah, and you're looking at Jeremiah and all the Ezekiel, all the different prophets and things like that, and it starts talking about the field, it's talking about the world. Anytime you see the field, it is defined right here in your scriptures what the field is. The field is the world. The good seed are what? The children of the kingdom. What kingdom? The kingdom of darkness or the kingdom of light? The kingdom from above or the kingdom from below? Okay? The good seed are the children of the kingdom of light, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of above. but the tares are the children of the wicked one. If you understood what happened in the first earth age, when Satan, or when this cherub that sat over the mercy seat decided that he wanted to become like God, and he tried to get all of the children of God to worship him as God. 1/3 of the children, 1/3 of the angels bowed down to Satan. The 2/3 never did. They stood up against him. Then we come into this age, and he immediately comes in through Eve, beguiles Eve, and you look up the word beguile, it's a sexual term. He beguiles Eve, and then we have Cain coming into the world, and we have, that's the 1/3 in the original age that worshiped Satan and turned away from the Father to worship the cherub named at the time Lucifer. Okay, so that's what you're looking at here. There's two different children. It can't be any clearer than this. Okay, again, secrets from the foundation of the world. The field is the world. The good seed is the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. Now, don't get me wrong. People like Beyonce, now I picked on her in part one, so I'm picking on her again. People like Beyonce can still come out of being a child and be grafted into Jesus's lineage, okay, into the children of Abraham. Why? Because anybody can, because it's available to all people. Just because you are a child of the wicked one, just because you are a Rothschild, a Rockefeller, a Morgan, or whatever, absolutely does not mean you have to be condemned to eternal death, and eventually, if you, in the third age, during the millennium, if you, after Satan is released again for the last and final time before he is permanently done away with forever to never exist again, if by that time they still are worshiping Satan and still refuse to worship the Father, then they themselves also will perish and cease to exist forevermore. Period. Okay? He's given them all these chances. They had the first age, they failed. They worshiped Satan. In this age, they're worshiping Satan. You can see it in all your movies. You can see it on your music awards. You can see it's all satanic symbolism, all seeing eye, all the stuff is all about Satan. It's all about worshiping him, and they're making all of the people all over the earth to worship Satan by listening to their music. Okay? Or to their TV shows or their movies or their school education or what have you. Okay? So you being a child of God and being part of the 2/3 that stood up against him, you come into this world and you find yourself as a child of the terror, of the wicked one. You find yourself as the terror because you are programmed into the ways of the children of the wicked one. You're operating in lies and deceptions. And so we all have to have redemption. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All of us, each and every single one of us in this age, all have. Because we're born into it. And we're programmed right from the very get-go. And our parents are programming us from the very get-go because they themselves were programmed and know not the truth and have no light in them. But they think they did. Okay? That's the problem. We all think. First thing you got to do is get to a point in your life where you realize everything you've ever been told, the entirety of your life, has been nothing but lies and deceptions. You know nothing. Zilch. Not one truth ever told to you. Ever. Not in church, not by your parents, not by friends, not by the teachers, not by your government. Nothing. Never. Because the God of this world, it was the one that was in control. The God of this world had control of your religions, of your religions, all of them. Okay, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhist, what have you, all of them. So religion, all your governments, all your educational systems, all your sciences, all the different things. The God of this world controlled it. At least up until this time where light is beginning to shine. Dawn has just begun to happen. The sun hasn't even made it up to the horizon yet. Okay, I say up. It just hasn't made it into view yet, but there's light in the sky. It's called daylight. It has nothing to do with the sun. It's the neon gas. It's before the sun, what we would call the horizon, okay? Before the sun comes up above the horizon, you have daylight. That's where the neon gases, the noble gases, the highest and lightest of gases that sit up at the top of the firmament, whereas air, which is heavy, sits down here where we are. But the noble gases are actually activated by the energy of the sun. That is daylight. It has nothing to do with sunlight. Okay? This is why in the beginning God said, let there be light, and there was light. But then later he creates the sun. Okay? Those noble gases up there, that's daylight. There's also, there's two meanings to that verse. When he created light, light is wisdom. That is the word of your Father. That's the only place you can get wisdom. But it is clear here that the field is the world. No matter what verse you're reading, anywhere in the scriptures, the field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, anywhere in the scriptures that you're reading it. And the tares are the children of the wicked one, anywhere in the scriptures that you're reading about it. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. It don't get no clearer than that. Who are the children of the wicked ones, the tares that are amongst us in this field called the earth, the world? Who is it? Who sowed them? The devil. When did that happen? Back in Genesis. Back in the beginning. Right here. The secrets from the foundation. The foundation of the world. From the beginning of this age that we're in right now. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. Now we're going to look this word up. The end of the world. Let's go look it up. Okay. So I'm over here on eSword, and I'll put a link to eSword, guys, into the description of the videos. I highly recommend you go get it, download it. It's absolutely free, but it will help you out tremendously. You can go in here and you can get all the different books. You can get different types of Bibles. Like I've got the King James version here, and then I've got the King James versions plus, which has the concordance in it. So we're going to go on down here to verse 30, and it says, not 30. Verse 30, verse 39. Okay, so the enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. Okay, so here's what this means. It says that from the same as Greek 104, properly an age, by extension perpetuity. Also pass. By implication, the world, specifically Jewish, a messianic period, present or future. Okay? Age, course, eternal, forevermore, beginning of the, while the world began, without end, compare. Okay. It is an age. It is a time period. It is a present, a messianic period. Okay? A time sequence. Okay? Not the end of the world. The world's not going to just suddenly disappear and cease to exist. Earth is going to be here. Okay? The fire, the final judgment of fire is the truth, the word coming down upon the wicked. Okay? And annihilating them. Literally annihilating them. Because all they've done is operated through lies and deceptions. But understand that the enemy that sowed them is the devil, which was in Genesis. The harvest is the end of the age before we go into the millennium. Okay? It is the angel, and the reapers are the angels. Now let's go back to the other one. Understand what the word means. See, this is what I mean by understanding is lost when you translate from one language unto another language. You've got to go and you've got to look up these words. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of this age that we are currently in before we go into the age of righteousness. 1,000 years, or one day, because one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. 1,000 years, the Lord reigning and ruling His kingdom, His righteousness, His word reigning and ruling on the earth for 1,000 years. At the end of that 1,000 years, Satan is released, and the people will be tested one last and final time. And again, anyone that makes it through this age in righteousness and in truth, which are the same 2/3 that made it in the first age, that stood up against Satan, you're going to stand up against them again, because that's who you are. That's your authority. That's your power. You did it in the first age. You're going to do it again. But anyway, if you do that, then you go into the next age, the 1,000-year reign of Christ, the 1,000-year reign of the truth, the 1,000-year reign of His word on the earth, where righteousness reigns and rules. You will be eternal. The rest will not be. They will still have the ability to die the second death. When Satan is released at the end of the third age, at the end of the millennium, there is going to be one last and final test. After that, Satan is is done away with. Okay, he's the son of perdition. He will be fully eliminated, cease to exist forevermore. That's his price that he has to pay. Okay? Remember, God is light and there is no darkness in him. He did not create a cherubim with darkness in him. Darkness was found in the cherubim. That's going to be in another video. That's later. Okay? All this death, all this disease, all these errors, all these crippling things that are happening to people, and people say, well, why would God allow that? Because of what happened in the first age. Okay? God's not evil. But 1/3 he chose to worship Satan. Okay? They're the same in this age. The hope is that out of those 1/3, those are of our brothers and sisters that chose to worship Satan will come out of it and will go back to worshiping the Father and obtain eternal life again. Let's go back to the word. Okay, so the enemy that sowed them is the devil, the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. The angels are the ones that are going to come and bundle them. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this age. We've looked, same word, same exact word. End of this age. The Son of Man. Okay? Now, understand, everyone down here says this, the Son of Man is going to come. Jesus has to return, and Jesus is the one that's going to conquer all the wicked ones and all the kings and all that. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. That's not what he says. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels. It's his angels that are going to be doing it. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom. What's his kingdom? The earth. That's his kingdom. The earth, the field. His field, the earth. Okay? Out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Their Father. Their Father. You are a child of the living God. That's who you are. That's what all of us are. There are no blacks, there are no whites, there are no Christians, and there are no Jews. There are none of that. We're all brothers and sisters. They create the divisions. The Kenites, the children of the wicked ones that were sowed among us, who control everything. The God of this world. Okay? They create those divisions. So when you have this nation going to war against this nation, what you have is this brother going to war against this brother. Killing one another. Brothers and sisters killing each other. That's what you have going on. Chaos. Babylon. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear? Please, guys, hear. Let them hear. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than this. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a treasure hid in a field. What's the field? The earth. The which, when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Okay? So, the kingdom of heaven is like unto the truth that's in the earth, but since we're all under lies and deceptions and programming, that when you find it, the word, the truth, when you finally find it, you go and you sell everything else. You get rid of all the lies, all the deceptions, and you say, Father, your word is the truth. I accept it for what it is. Whatever you say, so shall it be. Let me read. And start reading. And start living by it. And start applying it. And with patience, it will transform you by the washing of the waters of the word. Again, the kingdom of heaven, okay, we just read that. And again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchantman seeking goodly pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, okay, it's the same thing over and over again. When you finally realize it is the word that you need, it is the word. It's all about the word. The news doesn't matter. Okay, what Q posts doesn't even matter. Okay, follow Q. Understand what Q is posting, because Q is opening up eyes to the darkness that is taking place all around us. But what matters is the Word, because that's the one thing they won't teach you is the Word, and they won't tell you get in it, stay in it until it's in you. They won't do it. They would rather that you be sealed and marked with the mark of the beast, that is their lies, their deceptions, their programmings, and because of it, you won't make it into the next age as an eternal child of the living God. You won't. Because you haven't found the great pearl, the truth, your Father's Word. You're His child. You don't know that, but you are His child. Co-heirs with your brother, Jesus, the Christ. Christ meaning the Anointed One. His name is not Jesus Christ. His name is Jesus, and He is the Christ, the Anointed One. But He is a brother of yours. He's a son of the living God, just like you are. God is your Father, so why call Him God? Why start calling Him what He is? Your Father, Abba, Daddy, Father. Okay? And stop calling Pope, Pope, because Pope means Father. And Mr. Antichrist himself. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea, and gathered of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. Okay, same thing as the parable up above. So they cast this net in, they catch one of every kind, the wicked and the good. They take the good, they keep it, and they take the wicked ones and cast them out of the earth. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Alright, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, because, again, time is a limited thing for me. I really, truly, genuinely hope that these videos are helping you guys. The whole point of my video is to get you to get into that Word, guys. To read your Father's Word. Let me show you something real quick. Let's go over here, back over to eSword real quick. Okay, over here on eSword, I was telling you I've got the Geneva Bible, which is the 1587 Bible. I got the King James. I got the King James Plus, which has the strong concordance in it, so we can look up the words. You guys can download all this. Just go up here to download, click on it. This window will pop up, and then pick the Bible you want. There's also this one, which is the King James Bible of 1611. Now, just quickly look over here on the left-hand side. Okay, you see all your normal books of the Bible. Okay, all your normal books. Okay, we're on the King James Version plus concordance. When we go to the King James 1611 Bible, we're still in Matthew 13. But what I want you to do is come over here and look. You got all the same books of the Bible, but understand that the Apocrypha was in the Bible prior to 1611. So you have Esdras 1 and 2, you got Tobit, you got Judith, you got Maccabees 1, 2, 3, and 4. You got the Prayer, you got the Book of Wisdom and Sirach. You got all these other books that were originally part of your scriptures that are not part of your scriptures today, that they completely and utterly removed from the canon that we call the Holy Bible. Okay? So you need to understand that there are books that are missing from your scriptures. Okay? This is all things that you need to research out. You need to see, how did the Word even get to you to this day? How many manuscripts are there out there from the ancient of ancient days? Where are they located? They're located in museums that absolutely prove the trueness of the Word that has been brought down to you to this very day and this very age, because the Father has kept His Word, that He will get His Word throughout all the ages, all the way to the very end. It will be available so that no man, woman, or child is with excuse that they did not turn to the Father to worship the Father rather than the cherub, Satan. So understand that there are books missing from your scriptures. Okay, you're just gonna have to get them. And if you get eSword, you can just go up there to download the King James 1611 Bible, and it will have the Apocrypha in it. It's just because that's what it was originally. It had the Apocrypha. And the Book of Wisdom here, the Book of Wisdom is a lot like the Book of Proverbs. The Book of Proverbs and the Book of Wisdom are my two most favorite books in the scriptures, period, point blank. I can tell you that right now. But guys, I hope this has helped you out in some way, some form, some fashion. And remember to get in the Word, to stay in the Word, and to get the Word in you. Look, if I disappeared tomorrow, say I perished, okay, my time is up, boom, I'm gone. Okay, You can keep going. Just get in the book. It's that simple. It really is that simple. Get eSword. It's free, okay? If you've got extra money, donate to eSword for putting all this together for everybody. Look, you're in the time of awakening, guys. Just as the Father told us that we would all be asleep, that there's going to come a time where we're all going to wake up, and this is exactly what we're seeing today. Okay? No one knew it was going to come through the President of the United States of America or through a military operation called Q or any of these things. We didn't understand how the awakening would take place, but the scriptures clearly told us that we would all awaken at some point and that we would bring down the wicked ones at some point. And ultimately, it's the angels that are going to go and take them out. The true wicked ones, the true tares. Remember, in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, we're going to go over that in the next, maybe not the next video, but we will be going over it. The book, Daniel chapter 2, it gives you the dream of Nebuchadnezzar, where he sees the statue, the gold head, and it goes all the way down to the feet. And then the feet are made of iron and clay. Clay is man. Adam was formed from the dirt of the earth. Okay, iron is the wicked ones that were sown, the tares that were sown into the earth, and the 1/3 of the spiritual powers. Okay, and so in this last kingdom of iron and clay, the feet that get broke by the rock that comes down from heaven and just absolutely devastates the entirety of the statue and becomes a mountain, a ruling kingdom over all the earth. That kingdom, which is part clay, part iron, is the spiritual beings that are running the earth. Okay, they're not from some other world or some other galaxy. There is none of that. There's a firmament in the way. There are other dimensions, which is our eyes cannot see or perceive, and none of our senses can perceive. For example, you see the water in the ocean, but you can't see the water in the air. But give it enough time and the right kind of heat, and then all of a sudden you see the water boiling in the air. It's called a cloud. And then you see the water falling from the cloud, called rain. But it's always been there. It was always there. You can't perceive it. It was in a completely different dimension. Okay? There's all sorts of dimensions around us, but there is no space. It's water above the firmament. Water, just as the commercials show you. It's water above the firmament. Okay? So just understand these things, guys, because it's important for you. It's very, very important that you gain understanding, that you understand your Father's word. Otherwise, you're that ground that is by the seaside. Okay, where it talks about they lack understanding. They read the word, but they don't understand it. But how do you gain understanding? You keep reading, and reading, and reading. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That's in the book of Proverbs. Okay? Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding, fearing the Lord. And I'm talking about literally fearing. Because if you mess up, guess who's going to judge you? Your Father. And why is he going to judge you? To show you your error, so that you can correct it, so that you are being molded into the image and likeness of his Son, which is that of righteousness, of keeping the law, the instructions, to have peace, to love one another. All these kinds of different types of things. Alright, guys, remember, get in the Word, stay in the Word, get the Word in you. Other than the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the two most important things are love and peace. Love and truth. And after that, peace and justice. And I'll talk with you guys later. Peace be with every one of you guys. I love you all. I truly do, guys. Whether you believe, if you think I'm just saying that to say that, no. I love each and every one of us. All of us. Okay? Those who reign and rule, okay, I'm not talking about like Hillary Clinton and stuff. I'm talking about these spiritual beings that are mixed in, the iron that's mixed in with the clay. What's happened is, these people worship Satan. Satan being the iron, basically. And the clay being mankind, us, that have hooked up with the Satan and the spiritual beings, the powers and principalities in the heavenly places, okay, and are controlling all of the minds of men all over the earth, okay. But these people, all they did is they sold their soul to the devil, and they have connected themselves with the iron. So it's iron and clay, but iron and clay don't mix. They don't connect. They don't stay together. They don't bond. Okay, so eventually they're going to break apart, and it's going to come from within themselves as the people of these different bloodlines certain ones come out of it. Literally, remember, 1/3 were taken down with worship Satan. So those 1/3, the Kenites today, through the bloodlines, that's why they are so specific about their bloodlines. They have the opportunity to repent. They're still our brothers and sisters. Okay? The problem is, in the original age, they worshipped Satan instead of the Father. They turned away from the Father to worship the cherub, who's Satan today. So they're worshiping him. They have the ability to go back to the Father. And that's what this age is about. And the next age. And the next age. Remember, if you don't go into the next age with the eternal body, if you aren't translated into the eternal, the uncorruptible, then you're going to have the power of life and death is still going to exist in the millennium for the other people that didn't receive the truth, that didn't worship the Father, that didn't come back to the Father. So you're going to have eternal beings and flesh and blood in the millennial reign. Both. But the second death has no effect upon those who are eternal in the next age. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is that Satan and these principalities and powers have intermingled with clay. People, men and women of power that have been in offices for way too many years, have signed contracts with the devil. They believe the devil is God, and they believe all these lies and deceptions, and they're working iniquities upon the earth, and they're programming people left and right through all their music, through all their TV programming, through all their billboards, through all their cartoons, through all everything, through their newspapers, magazines. Every single thing that you come into contact with is programming by them. And that is the clay that is intermingled or tied in. That is the toes that are both iron and clay. You see how this all comes together? Hopefully you do. I really hope you guys do. Okay, I'm going to get off here, guys. This video is too long, and I got to get back to helping the family out. I love you guys. I'll talk with you guys soon. Bye-bye.